So we're supposed to believe that the feds went into multiple addresses, picked up thousands of hours of surveillance, and the only people that were on it were these couple people.
I would see, all manner of domestic violence, and it's a very difficult crime for everyone involved.
And so I take this pill, and about 30 minutes in, man, maybe about an hour, I'd say about an hour in, I start feeling real jittery and shaky.
Cassie just dropped a massive demand on Diddy, calling him out for everything she endured and everything she was forced to reveal in court. And now, Diddy's looking more worried than ever.
Cassie prompted this investigation by the Southern District, and now Sean Combs stands before the court as a convicted felon of 2 federal crimes. He faces significant incarceration. Not the exact outcome that we wanted, but we are grateful to the jury for finding a guilty verdict on those 2 federal crimes. No amount of money is going to ever undo what she had to endure and what she had to go through. So I think both she and I didn't really take well to that as her being a winner. And frankly, the fact of the matter is that when she testified, she had already been paid the $30 million. So she had no vested interest in anything other than telling the truth on that witness stand.
Everything is boiling over because of Cassie. Diddy is now begging the judge to either toss out his conviction entirely or hand him a brand new trial. And he's doing it before sentencing has even happened. In a 62-page filing dropped late Wednesday night, his legal team argued that the federal government railroaded him, calling the conviction not only wrong but unconstitutional and unlike anything ever seen before. But what's becoming painfully clear now are the devastating consequences this verdict carries, especially for the victims who stood against him.
The jury has given their verdict, but this case is far from over. Grab your snacks as we talk about how much time is he getting in the clanker. At this point, we all know that Diddy was convicted on 2 counts of transportation of ladies and gentlemen of the night. This crime holds a maximum sentence of 10 years. There's no minimum, but he was found guilty on 2 counts. So in a perfect world with simple math, he's facing up to 20 years in prison, but it's just not that simple. Our judicial system calls themselves trying to be fair, so there's a grid or like a chart where you have guidelines based upon your criminal history. They don't think it's fair that if this is your first conviction that you should potentially face the same amount of time as if this is someone's 3rd or 4th. So there's a chart, actually here's the chart right here. So this is the U.S. Sentencing Commission table, and this is Diddy's first conviction, believe it or not. So he will definitely fall right here in this first column. So in this very first section where you see offense level, you see zone A, B, C, and D, well, the prosecutors are going to try to get to the highest zone that they can.
Prosecutors painted a disturbing picture during the trial, alleging that Diddy commanded a tight inner circle of employees who coerced women, including singer Cassie Ventura and another woman identified only as Jane, into participating in disturbing late-night gatherings. These secretive events were known as freak-offs or hotel nights, fueled by drugs and adult entertainers. Now, one of those entertainers has stepped forward to reveal his own experience inside Diddy's infamous freak-offs, and what he describes is as unsettling as it gets.
When was the first time Cassie and Diddy gave you drugs?
Yeah, bro, crack is whack, bro. Like, I definitely, for me, I am the worst crackhead that you will ever see in your life. I can't do no kind of drug. Because I can't remember if it was Cassie or him that initially asked me if I wanted to try it. I believe it was her. She asked me if I ever tried it before, but they was both standing there together. And I was like, no. And I think he was like, yo, you want to try it? It's going to make you feel real nice. You're going to feel relaxed. You're going to feel like, like partying. And so I was like, man, I don't fuck with drugs like that, but I mean, I guess whatever. So I tried it. I mean, at this point, I've been with them for long enough. They're not hiding their identity no more. I'm shooting the shit with Cassie all the time now. Like, every time that we're together, we talking for hours and shit. So I feel a level of trust. And so I take this pill, and about 30 minutes in, man, maybe about an hour, I'd say about an hour in, I start feeling real jittery and shaky and real chattery. I start talking a lot. And so I guess I annoyed him, and he was like, yo, I think you need a break. So he was like, yo, I'm gonna pay you a little something, go, get something to eat or whatever, and we gonna hit you back when you feeling a little bit less like chatty. And so I left out the joint. She lived like by the BMW building on 59th Street in like a 10th, 11th Avenue, West End Avenue.
It was West End.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened, bro. Like it literally felt like 3 minutes later, my ass was in Times Square.
I told you about my situation. I was throwing up on the bathroom floor. I was messed up. They put me out of the hotel and sent me out into the street to go home. Dude, I'm throwing up all over the floor and I'm delirious. That's why that situation happened, why I ended up walking from the Trump and Columbus Circle all the way down to Union Square. Because he put me out there with no regard for what was going to happen to me once I left that hotel. And now that I know what was going on, I see how little they actually regarded us as human beings. They just looked at us as people that they could use whenever they want.
Diddy's lawyers have now come out swinging, insisting that every one of those events was consensual among adults and nothing more than part of a shared lifestyle. They argue the women are only speaking up now in an attempt to cash in on Diddy's name. In the latest filing, he's pleaded not guilty to every charge. His team also points out that no one else in America has ever been convicted under the Mann Act in a case like his. According to them, if prosecutors had only pursued the 2 transportation-related charges, the trial would have looked completely different, with far less focus on violence. Diddy's lead attorney even gave a fascinating interview recently, doubling down on these claims.
What about the other component that we know the judge is very concerned about, and that is your client's propensity for violence? Even you yourself acknowledged that in the closing arguments of the case with what happened to Cassie on the video that the world saw, and in the instances with Jane. How can you reconcile your position now in this motion for bail, that he should be free and is not a danger to the public, when we know these instances happened in the past?
So I think the key thing with what you said is that it happened in the past. I mean, the only instance that we have in recent memory was one, and the trial evidence showed this, where Jane essentially, started a fight with Mr. Combs, smashed his head against the counter, threw glasses at him. Jealousy was always a feature of their relationship, and Jane was jealous of his relationship with another woman. And so that was about 14 months ago that happened. But other than that, everything dates back, a number of years, 2018 and before. And as we made, the point we made in the bail application as well is, Mr. Combs is seeking counseling, was seeking counseling for domestic violence before he was arrested. He was attending a program here in New York, and we really wish that he could have stayed in that program, but the federal government arrested him, and then he was in jail, and he couldn't continue with this very outstanding program, which I believe he'll come back to if he's released. And that's really, I started my career in the Manhattan DA's office, and I would see, all manner of domestic violence, and it's a very difficult crime for everyone involved. It's difficult, obviously, for the victim, who has to live in fear from one of the people in her lives that she's the closest to, or he's the closest to. But what I saw in the DA's office is that these were not resulting in lengthy prison sentences. These were resulting in appropriate, treatment programs, self-awareness, therapy, things like that. And I think this is what Mr. Combs needs, rather than an extended time in prison.
This conviction may stand alone, but it should not stand at all, wrote Diddy's lawyer, Alexander Shapiro. The defense is now accusing the government of deliberately casting Diddy as a villain from the very beginning. For months, prosecutors painted him as the mastermind of a 20-year criminal enterprise who abused multiple women. Yet, after a 2-month trial, the jury threw out those sweeping claims, leaving Diddy's team to argue that the case never should have gone this far. At this point, Diddy has only been convicted on the 2 lesser charges, and according to his team's filing, those charges don't even require proof that anyone was forced, threatened, or deceived. But that raises the bigger question. If Diddy somehow manages to walk free, what's the government's plan to keep him in check?
And that he'd be allowed to live in his home in Miami. I should say it's a mansion, it's really a mansion, as he awaits his sentencing in October. Now, the bond would be co-signed by 3 financially responsible people. His travel would be limited. It'd be limited to Florida and to New York, and his passport would be surrendered.
The filing blasts the government's case as nothing short of outrageous, arguing that Diddy was convicted over something as trivial as arranging travel for a longtime girlfriend or a paid entertainer across state lines for private, intimate reasons. That's it. No violence, no coercion, nothing close to what prosecutors had been preaching for months. And now, Diddy's team says this so-called conviction isn't just flimsy, it's a dangerous precedent that could flip the justice system on its head. Diddy's legal team wants the world to believe there was no money involved and that every participant was a willing adult making their own choices. But the evidence tells another story. Multiple corroborating reports make it clear that financial pressure, manipulation, and control were very much at play. The defense's claim of consent collapses the second you compare it to what witnesses, victims, and insiders have consistently revealed. In reality, their argument doesn't just fall apart. It exposes exactly how hollow their entire defense really is.
If anybody bothers to remember, she made it very clear he had been at her since she was like 18, 19 years old. It didn't become so-called official until her 21st birthday, and she was already signed. Matter of fact, if I'm correct, I believe that's the night that Britney Spears was there at that party as well, and they said that she was seen left with Diddy, half out of her gourd. And Diddy was joking about what he had done with her. But I guess, we want to skip over all of that. So she started out as an employee. All of the beatings, because there were more than the beatings that we saw on that tape. Which, by the way, I also sat here on this couch and said, he was beating that girl, he was raping that girl, he put the boots to that girl, and dared her to say anything. And you said, why would he do that? Because I said, because he thinks he's God.
On the stand, both women revealed the weight of Diddy's power. Cassie Ventura admitted she never wanted to be part of those parties, but saying no wasn't an option when Diddy held her career and finances in his hands. She told the court about his violent outbursts, and the jury even watched chilling surveillance footage from 2016, showing Diddy physically aggressive toward her, a clip first exposed by CNN in May 2024. But here's the twist. Despite the shocking testimony and undeniable video evidence, the jury refused to convict him of trafficking either woman. And that leaves one haunting question hanging in the air. Why?
Allegedly,
Okay.
His attorney told the world basically, like, yes, Diddy is a swinger. He can't just go out into a swinging party. He may have to hire people to come into his world to do those swingish things.
A swingers party with as many different people as he had at those parties. And understand this, these sessions that he's talking about swinging, there were multiple men. It wasn't just one-on-one action. And I don't know why they're all lying about it. Like, they're all lying through their caps. And anybody who doesn't want to see that, well, then that's just on them. But I'm going to tell you something right now. If he really wanted to sue Cassie because he was upset about a baby deletion and all the diseases that she gave him and all of the terrible things that she did to him, why did he have to wait for her to sue Diddy?
Well, I think he waited for the testimony. Cassie opened that door.
No. If he was he said he had always intended to go after her. He had planned on coming after her, and it was Tyrone Blackburn that stopped him.
I mean, $30 million changes a lot.
$30 million changes a lot. Come on now. You got VD and all of that, but you had to wait for her to get some money in order for you to want to come forward? That doesn't make any sense, especially when you're a money-grubbing little hoe like him. And he is a money-grubbing little hoe. He's enjoying his press tour, talking about how he might not be the best looking, but he was the best in bed. How would she know, as high as she was?
He said they had an 8-year run, like 8 years?
Yeah, and in those 8 years, he didn't mind getting burned and coming back.
Diddy's lawyers are adamant. The jury didn't buy the trafficking or abuse claims. They argue it's unheard of to convict someone under the Mann Act without profit, direct involvement, or any intent to cause harm. In their words, Diddy is locked up simply because he paid adult entertainers, who they claim consented, to film private videos with his girlfriends, videos they later watched together. To them, this isn't a crime at all. And if the government insists it is, then the law itself is broken. The clips shown in court, they say, weren't evidence of abuse, but personal creative content protected by free speech. But here's where it gets darker. Jaguar Wright says the real story isn't what the jury saw. It's what they weren't allowed to see. She claims something about the evidence reeks of manipulation. And if she's right, then this trial may not just be about Diddy's guilt or innocence. It could be about a cover-up far bigger than anyone realizes. So what exactly got buried before the truth ever reached the courtroom?
The second that she dropped her lawsuit, he kicked out $20 million in 24 hours. Why would you do that if you did nothing wrong? Why? You were doing it out of the kindness of your heart? Well, why? Why? Just like Mr. Clayton Bigsby. Because that's what he looks like, the crackhead.
Oh.
That Dave Chappelle used to play on the show, the Clayton Bigsby. He looks just like that to me.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't care how magnificent you say your penis. I couldn't make it past the look of your face, sir. Cassie would have needed to be high on all of the stuff in that baby oil and everything else, y'all, to be able to make it through you. Or maybe the diddler really chose him because he wanted to make sure there was somebody there that was uglier than him. You know, of all of the things y'all have heard me say to y'all for all of this time, have you ever heard me get into any of these nasty details that you heard pop out through the trial?
Nah.
You ever hear me talk about the size of people's members, the nasty little... I pretty much kept it short, didn't I? I spared y'all exactly how trifling and nasty it really was, did I not?
Come on.
I mean, considering how disgusting all of this stuff is, I think I gave it a lot of grace. And yet I was still very accurate about everything that I said was happening, except for the whole idea that, oh, no, there was no other celebrities. It was no other celebrities were there. And this only happened with these couple of people. And da-da-da-da-da. And so we're supposed to believe that the feds went into multiple addresses, picked up thousands of hours of surveillance. And the only people that were on it were these couple people.
So the question, Jack, is, do you feel the feds, the prosecution, put on a good case? Did you believe they put their best foot forward, or maybe they rushed things, or maybe they didn't do their due diligence in certain areas?
I think, considering what's going on with the Epstein list right now.
Exactly.
Both women told the court that Diddy turned those videos into a weapon, threatening to expose them if they didn't obey, trapping them in fear, humiliation, and silence. Now his legal team is scrambling, demanding not only a new trial, but also a jaw-dropping $50 million bail to get him out until sentencing. They claim his life is in danger behind bars and swear he won't run. But the judge has already slammed the door on bail once, pointing to Diddy's violent past. And this time, the stakes are even higher. Will the court bend under pressure or shut him down for good?
He was the only one.
Yeah.
You saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
No, guilty.
That's why they do it. To make you an example. To remind you what they're willing to do to keep things the way they want them. It's intimidation. Can't go to the authorities. They're all bought and paid for. You could try to get a special prosecutor, but they'll just pay somebody to reassign him to another case.
When Diddy first asked for bail, the judge was flooded with letters, including one from Cassie Ventura herself, warning that his release would put them in danger. As it stands, Diddy's sentencing is locked in for October 3rd. He's been sitting inside Brooklyn's notorious Metropolitan Detention Center ever since his arrest in Manhattan back in September 2024. And even though a federal jury found him guilty just last month, President Donald Trump has publicly claimed he still views Diddy as half innocent. The two, it turns out, share more history than most people realize.
You know, like, let's not get it twisted. I mean, Diddy has partied with Trump before. Diddy has had parties at the Trump Tower, possible freak-offs at the Trump Towers.
But when the question of a presidential pardon came up, Trump didn't hesitate to admit it's not that simple. And the biggest obstacle? The things Diddy himself has said about Trump in the past, words that may now come back to haunt him.
Sean Diddy Combs.
Right.
Would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, you know, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great, and seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
Yeah, and it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Trump gave that interview, Diddy was being held in the same federal lockup that stayed open after another notorious facility shut down back in 2019. That closure followed the death of Jeffrey Epstein, a disgraced former Trump associate, while he was awaiting trial. The official story says Epstein took his own life, but his family has never accepted that version of events, insisting there's far more to the story than the public was told.
The brother of Jeffrey Epstein has made explosive allegations in an Australian exclusive interview with 9 News. Mark Epstein claims the convicted pedophile was murdered behind bars and is calling on President Trump to reopen the probe into his death.
Another day, another Epstein denial from Donald Trump.
I never had the privilege of going to his island.
Tonight, Jeffrey Epstein's brother Mark says he wants the president to reopen the investigation into the sex offenders' 2019 suicide. Do you believe since your brother's death there has been a cover-up?
Well, there's certainly been a cover-up of his death. I'm just concerned about the fact that it looks like he was murdered.
What motive do you think somebody might have had for wanting to kill him?
To quiet him. He had dirt on people. In 2016, during the election, he told me that if he said what he knew about the candidates, that they would have to cancel the election.
Donald Trump was one of those candidates, Hillary Clinton the other. There's no suggestion either was involved in Epstein's death. The US president admits he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for years, but denies any wrongdoing.
And in the early 90s, I know Trump was in Jeffrey's office a lot when he was in financial trouble. They used to fly in each other's planes. Jeffrey would tell me funny stories, what happened when they were together.
Today, Trump shared why that relationship fell apart.
Because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me.
You said that Jeffrey ended the relationship because he believed Donald Trump was a crook. Where do you think the truth lies?
I mean, I know my brother, you know, and he wouldn't. I don't think he would say that unless that's what it was.
Mark's message to Donald Trump:
stop covering things up and let a real, honest homicide investigation take place.
Likely to fall on deaf ears.
My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points.
Since then, Trump's Department of Justice has taken heavy criticism for keeping tight-lipped on the Epstein case, despite earlier promises to pull back the curtain and make key details public. And now, when it comes to presidential pardons, the power is in Trump's hands. But judging by his own words, old grudges and personal ties could weigh heavily on whether he'd ever use it for Diddy. So here's the million-dollar question. Could Trump actually let Diddy walk free? And if he did, what would that mean for Cassie's safety? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because this story is far from over.